Back in the 2000s, I did not play a lot of games. The most I got was playing games on my cousin's PC, and back then the popular games were Counter-Strike Source, Assassin's Creed, Grand Theft Auto, and Need for Speed. I remember my first few games being Need for Speed Underground, Counter-Strike Source, except I didn't really play that more than one match because I couldn't aim and got scared of it. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, but I didn't play that much of that either. But sometime later, my cousin showed me a different car game, one with cops in it and a really fun physics system, and the racing was fun and stuff, I guess. I never really touched the game because of fear, but I remember enjoying watching him play it. This was the game that I would fall in love with a few years later, and it was called Need for Speed Most Wanted. Need for Speed Most Wanted is a game that was released in 2005 by Electronic Arts, and it is one of my favorite games ever. The Need for Speed series had gained a lot of traction prior to the game as one of the best arcade racing games franchises out there. The games that I know before Most Wanted are Hot Pursuit, which was the first Need for Speed game to have cops in it, but they're just an add-on, like a minor obstacle more than an actual problem. Next came the Underground Geology, which took to the streets. It featured neon aesthetics and it had a lot of customization and people loved it. The first game was just trying the concept out and it lacked an open world since Need for Speed was another series under the annual release pressure. However, the second game did that and it was a good game. I didn't play through the first one, but I finished the second and I liked it a lot. But then they dropped the idea of a neon street racing aesthetic and moved to something different. The Underground game had a few files that were probably for cops in the game, but again, annual release pressure didn't allow them to do that. But putting a lot of effort into it, they created a game which stood out from its predecessors called Need for Speed Most Wanted. A game that had this extremely gritty atmosphere showed off by its first trailer, and it had not so extraordinary vehicles going at breakneck speeds and having cool customizations. Heck, the main car for the game isn't a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, it's a BMW. The game title itself said another thing. Cops were coming back for this one, and boy, did they come back good, but we'll get to that later. The game had the gritty aesthetics, as I said. It also has metal and hard rock songs to really show that off. Everything from the graphics to the cast to the story to the way police pursuits make you feel show just how different this game is and how much it focuses on an intense gameplay more than the casual arcade feel. The game starts off with a completely new story about you entering a city which is called Rockport, and going on a friendly race with Mia, a person who later becomes your ally. You also meet Cross in this cutscene, who becomes one of the villains in the game, and I think he's a pretty goddamn good villain. He's not really that, scary in any way. He's just, he's a funny guy, and sometimes he just annoys the fuck out of you. He fails to arrest you but leaves a scratch on your car, and that makes him your mortal enemy, so you just destroy a shit ton of cars in the game as payback. You basically start moving up and catching attention from a lot of people. Rogue is another racer who joins your team because he's impressed with your skills. You then meet your antagonist for the game, Razor. Razor is this kid trying to be edgy, but basically he's like a John to the racing team. He has a lot of people under him, so he is actually pretty dangerous. You then go for a race with him and he steals your car, so you get arrested. That's the intro of the game. And when you get out, Mia comes and helps you move into Rockport. She gives you a safe house, she allows you to buy a new car, and you can choose what car you want to buy from obviously a very cheap range of cars, and then you can move up on the blacklist since Razor is now on blacklist 1. So that's it. The game focuses on you moving up the blacklist to get to Razor and defeat the whole thing. It's an arcade racer, so it isn't supposed to have a deep plot, and I think the plot for NFS Most Wanted is one of the most iconic racing game plots ever. Story of Razor and Mia and stuff like that. It's just one of the most iconic things, and BMW M3 GTR is without a doubt one of the most iconic cars out there. Like, any racing game has a reference to it. Even Burnout has references to that car, and every Need for Speed game after Most Wanted had a reference to it. But let's talk about the game itself. Blacklist is basically a list of the best races in the city, and you need to finish challenges set by opponents to actually race them, and defeating them means you can take over the spot on the blacklist, and you do this to get to Razor, who is at number 1 right now. The game has 3 different things you need to do to challenge the racer, which are races, milestones, and bounty. Races have different types of race, where you need to go and defeat like certain number of races from the ones provided to you. This part might feel a bit grindy and forced at times because of the nature of the races, and it does get boring when you're halfway through the game. But I think it's, the fucking gameplay still makes up for it, I guess. The types of races are circuit, where you go around a circuit at a specific number of laps. Sprint, where you go on a path from a start point to an end point with no loops. Drag, you're on a somewhat straight path and you don't steer but change lanes and keep changing your gears instead. This mode wasn't made well in this game because of the turning roads and it being difficult to change lanes, and it felt annoying at times to do these. Tool Booth, which is one of my favorites, a time trial race where you need to go through checkpoints to refill your time till you get to the last checkpoint, the most fun and challenging one to me. Speed traps, going on a sprint track, but instead of your position determining the winner, your speed is clocked at certain points on the track and is added up, and the one with the highest speed sum wins. Milestone and Bounty focuses on police pursuits, milestones being about certain achievements, get 10k bounty, destroy 10 cars, you know what I mean. Bounty is just how much bounty you get in a pursuit. Your bounty is added every 10 seconds in pursuit depending on what heat level you're on. The amount of bounty added increases. Wrecking cop cars also adds to your bounty depending on what car you wrecked. The game surely had a much darker atmosphere and story, and that made the game stand out from the rest, but I still feel like the game wasn't about racing, just like the name suggests. It was about the police chases that mattered more, at least to me. Starting the game off, you'll feel neutral. The game has good physics and a fun system, but it doesn't really stand out all that much. But when you get to like heat level 3, that's where the real fun begins. The game has an intense pursuit system. You'll constantly be on the edge of the seat, especially on heat level 5. You'll start off with level 1 where it's kind of nothing, the game feels easy. Level 2 is where you'll feel slightly more difficult to play with, but you'll still manage. Level 3 is where the game starts getting real and it actually is a problem to escape the cops. 4 is where you start feeling the pressure, and 5 is absolute insanity. I've been playing the game for about 8 years now. I got the game for my PS2 in 2011 or something. Now, I still play this game, and what keeps bringing me back is Police Pursuit. The game has the best pursuits in a racing game I've ever seen. The cars have fun handling and physics, but they're not too forgiving either. Like, yeah, that's fun. The cops keep ramming you. At heat level 4 you have SUVs trying to stop you by running into you, and at heat level 5 you literally have choppers swooping down on you to get you to stop. You have spike strips. I mean, god, this game gets intense. I usually forget I exist because I'm busy trying not to get busted. And there's times where you're desperately crying for help while being boxed in by the cops. And escaping that is rare, but one of the best feelings, as you leave the cops alone and run away. The game has a cooldown system at the end of a pursuit where, if you're out of the sight of the cops, you have a timer to stay hidden and then you can finally escape. That part is where you can catch your breath, but you still are in fear of being spotted again. I of course have played the game too many times to bother waiting. I just keep going on pursuits and have fun with that. Overall, the game stands out with its police pursuits and dark aesthetics, and I've always felt like this game will be my favorite for a long time, and it has. 8 years is a lot, and I'd like to think I've become rather good at this game. Around 2017, I finished half of the game in 4 hours, which is an achievement to me. By the end, I started using an Xbox controller and started driving in brakes and in a more professional way. The game has been me throughout my childhood, and it means a shit ton to me, at least. If you ever feel like you need a fun racing game, this one's for you. Sure, the start might feel a bit boring, but wait till you get to heat level 3 and you're gonna have a lot of fun with that. Anyway, that's where I'm gonna end this video. Hope you enjoyed watching. Leave a like if you did. This is the first in my I Love Dash series, and I'll be making these every Saturday, hopefully. Goodbye.
We got everyone on this. It's gonna try and slow him down with a 1075 here. I lost him. Let's cover the area. Units in the area be advised. The code 6 suspect was last seen heading southbound near Beacon Point.